the year the film was made, an excuse for the lacking special effects, does not explain the fact that this was a boring and mediocre film. Sorry to the fanatics, who will no doubt hate me, but I absolutely love sci-fi and fantasy, but just cannot bring myself to like any Star Wars film. The cheesy characters, terrible Muppets, especially those in the music band in the bar, the camp robot, silly Yoda, etc. Also, there is never any sense of fear from the heroes. No one dies, no matter how many battles they get into. Don't even get me started on the later movies. Jar Jar Binks. OMG, what a movie wrecker. A New Hope may have started the franchise, but it is in no way close to the best film in it. Almost insultingly simplistic and very boring in many places. This is clearly from a time where people expected much less from cinema. Not surprising, it comes from cinema's worst decade. The acting is pretty awful throughout and the plot is basic. Still, it's a decent chapter in the saga. Usually, I love mindless action movies. Usually, I'm all for senseless violence in films. And usually, I like little furry creatures. But here's what I hate. Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. This is a silly, hugely overrated, egotistical, boring, contrived, joyless, cheap, and morally bankrupt piece of garbage. There's simply nothing entertaining about this movie or any of the trilogy. The acting is silly and self-indulgent. The story is a very tired hairball hacked up from the throats of who knows how many fairy tales. Save the princess, save the universe, etc. I wouldn't be so vehement if it weren't for the fact that Star Wars is so popular and it's everyone's favorite. And people say Titanic is overrated. Hello, people aren't going to be jumping up and down over Titanic 20 years from now. People are still screaming about Star Wars, but this film/trilogy is anything but something that could be considered a classic. Lucas is not a genius. Darth Vader is a candy-ass villain and gentle reader. Luke Skywalker is a putz. Better if it wasn't in space. Also, The Rock should be in it. Bad film. 2 out of 10. If this were a rating of technical achievement, Star Wars would rank very high with state-of-the-art animation and groundbreaking visual imagery. But lack of any discernible character development, let alone acting, leaves an icy cold dissatisfaction. Indeed, the only character with an ounce of humanity is the robot. It's a shame that today's younger generation is being so shortchanged by the shallowness of our entertainment offerings. Star Wars is badly made, particularly the special effects, the editing, the acting, the cinematography, the dialogue, and the excruciating final scene. Worst of all, it is badly imagined. By that, I mean it is trite, with a mindless plot and without any original characters. All this nonsense about icons and popular culture doesn't alter the fact that it is junk. To say it is one of the best sci-fi movies ever made is not saying much. All but a few sci-fi movies are nothing but escapism, and many of those are better than this. I have no problem with people being passionate about movies they enjoy. I love Old Yeller, but I would hardly call it the greatest movie ever made. The second was better. The battle scenes at the beginning, the freezing of Han, and the battle between Darth and Luke. The third one was unforgivable. Ewoks and that cheesy ending that would make Frank Capra vomit. So boring I don't even remember what happened. It was like someone was dragging me through a pit of sand for 5 hours. I really can't stand this movie. It's completely unrealistic. I can't understand why so many people like this movie. It's not very good. The acting is average at best. All those freaky-looking characters distract the viewer. The storyline is lame. The battle scenes are glaringly fake and not very exciting. This movie is good if you're 2 or 3. I liked this movie when it first came out. As a teenager, I saw it about 7 or 8 times. There was nothing else to do on weekends. About 20 years went by before I saw it again on cable. How time dulls the memory. Star Wars now has an odd, nauseating effect on me. The 70s haircuts, laughable costumes, cheesy dialogue, fake visual effects, corny music, uninteresting soap opera plot. I could go on and on. I sat there before the flickering screen, enveloped in Star Wars' suffocating stupidity, wondering how in the hell I could ever have liked this thing. I finally came to my senses and turned the channel after hearing John Williams' irritating Darth Vader theme for the 600th time in the first 40 minutes. Why George Lucas decided we needed to hear this high-volume musical cue every time we see Darth Vader on screen is beyond me. Maybe he just thinks his audience is extremely stupid and is incapable of remembering that Darth Vader is supposed to be evil. I don't know. It would be easy to dismiss this movie as nothing but fluff to entertain kids, because that's all it is and all it was ever intended to be. But unfortunately, for many people, this thing has become their religion. Folks, get a life before it's too late. It's just a movie. While it did spawn a nifty couple of sequels, the original Star Wars sucked. The rebels, so willing to die for a cause, seemed awfully selfish in not wanting to sacrifice themselves to save the others. How many ships did Vader blow up while in the narrow tunnels? He'd pick off groups of 3 at a time, and each one would sit there and say, "Oh no, he's locking on. I'm being killed." None of them seemed to be willing to slam on the brakes and smash themselves into Darth's ship, killing the villain and saving the day in one move. Give me a break. Hype personified this film. It is little more than a routine cowboy film set in space. Good versus evil at the most banal and simplistic level imaginable. The performances are bland and uninspiring throughout. In short, it's present-day Hollywood doing what Hollywood does best. Hype. Not worthy of inclusion in a top 1 million. A McDonald's meal of a movie. All fat, sugar, salt, and caffeine. Supersized with whiz-bang special effects. Tastes great while you're eating it, but short on nourishment. They did it well enough that this junk food has squeezed pretty much everything good off the menu. The pick is just mediocre, but the trends it started have been horrid. Cornball plotting and dialogue is one thing, but the simple-minded good versus evil masquerading as some sort of authentic spirituality is vomit-inducing. The sequel, with its Freudian undertones, has some real conflict and character development and is actually a pretty good popcorn movie. But the original may be the most overrated movie of all time. There was a lot of hoopla about this movie when it came to it. I saw it in the theaters and found nothing to like about it. The movie has no plot, and the so-called acting is the worst I have ever seen. Everybody was reading their lines in a flat monotone. Even the robot sounds more human than all the actors. For some reason, it appeals to the lowest common denominator audience, namely, the stupid who think that anything with furry creatures must be good. It's hard to say anything more about the picture because it is so devoid of substance that there isn't anything to comment on. Science fiction isn't my favorite genre, but there are much better science fiction movies out there. For example, The Terminator and The Matrix were both far superior to this garbage. When I first saw Star Wars, I found it great. Really. I was 11. It's amazing how 40-year-old people can enjoy Star Wars. Why? What does this movie have for you to enjoy it so much after you have pubic hair? Maybe it's just one of those things you like because it reminds you of your childhood. No more than that. I'm rating it 1 because it is a great movie for children, not everyone. So with all those people rating 10, I'm giving some balance. It has the classic bad guy, I want to take over the universe, and the typical good guy, I need to save the universe, and robots and laser guns. Rent it for your kid, but don't tell me it's a classic for adults. Well, you have the film start with that really annoying and ponderous scroll up the screen. Not a fan of that. Then we're introduced to C-3PO and R2-D2. Of course, it was pissing me off that R2-D2 just made a bunch of clips and beeps. Didn't find him cute at all, just indecipherable. What's up with that? Who needs a trash can with some beeping noises? Then we get the firefight that has a bunch of stormtroopers running in and dying because their armor does absolutely fuck all. Luckily, the rebel guards have about the same level of marksmanship and no armor. Darth Vader comes in. He's not bad. He's kinda cool looking. But then we get to Princess Leia. And you know, I just don't find Carrie Fisher attractive. She's not a good-looking woman. Not a fan of her. And then we get the 2 droids walking around this barren desert and bickering at one another. I don't know, it just seemed really boring and mundane. Not much of a crowd pleaser. It's also a very one-sided conversation since the little shit can only make beeps and clicks. Fuck him. I really thought it was good that he got tasered or whatnot. So yada yada yada. And we finally come to the hero of the entire film. Luke fucking Skywalker. Our protagonist, if you will. A little whiny farm boy. Oh my god, I cannot stand Luke. Or maybe it's Mark Hamill. Maybe Mark Hamill was the problem, but I didn't like him. And this was before his face got all mangled up in ESB. Dude really resembled some sort of mongoloid then. But in A New Hope, he was just really whiny and annoying and hard to stomach. The way he would just stare at those two setting suns like he'd never seen them before in his fucking life. You just didn't see why we should care about this guy who whines about wanting to go join his friends at some academy. Or he's going to Toshi to get water vapor machines or something. It just doesn't inspire any sort of liking to this guy. Later on, we find out he also has a thing for his sister. What the fuck? We meet Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ridiculous name. Of course. I can't see why anyone would think that's a name at all. But whatever. He rescues Luke from those sand people. Which was sad cause I really wanted them to kill Luke and maybe eat his entrails. But no, we get treated to more of Mark Hamill's hammy-ass acting as he acts surprised to learn more about his father. We see the first scene with the lightsaber, which looks awful, of course, because this was the original version of the film I saw back on VHS. No special edition with the CGI yet. So yeah, it just looks kinda like a bright snow sword at times. We go to the town and find Han Solo. Not as bad a character as Luke, but still not all that likable. Plus, he hangs around with this walking Bigfoot ripoff named Chewie, who, again, like R2-D2, doesn't actually say anything we can understand. That's just annoying, sticking in characters that can't talk. Then again, this is from a guy who gave us great lines like I don't like sand, it's rough. Not like your skin, it's smooth. Not like sand. Or something to that effect. The Force. So ridiculous. Crazy mumble jumble. What is it? What does it do? I don't know. Whatever George Lucas pulls out of his ass apparently. New Age mysticism turned into a pithy little catchphrase in cinema. And that's the thing with Star Wars. It's not sci-fi. It's just sci-fantasy. A wizard did it. It doesn't have to make sense. Whatever. I hate fantasy. The Death Star. Oh god, the Death Star. Why would you build a ginormous battle station with this one vulnerability that allows the entire thing to blow up? That doesn't seem like a very good design. The shaft somehow goes straight into the main core. Of course, it does. It's the size of a small moon, but they couldn't be bothered to have the shaft deviate in some sort of manner. It just goes straight. And no filters in between. Nothing to stop a missile or torpedo.